Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio on the road today. It's Thursday at Haymarket Park. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. So here's what's up. Well, we were set to have the Lincoln A's play a doubleheader. That's juniors baseball team, as they have gotten to the point of the year where they're winding down their season. A lot of the same kids together for a lot of years, and we were going to play at Haymarket, but Mother Nature has not cooperated. The field a bit too wet and soppy, and we will not be here. But I'm still in the broadcast booth all by myself. The grounds crews working their tail off here, trying to get the field dry. But yeah, welcome to cool July weather, right? Great to be with you on a Thursday at Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. So here at Haymarket for a while, we are loaded up today. Kind of the aftermath here of the Trev Alberts day, the hiring yesterday, the press conference yesterday. So, what's next here? You had reaction yesterday. Now the task at hand, with Trev Alberts and moving some of Nebraska's sports forward, some key sports forward. We'll check in with Brandon Vogel from Hail Varsity in about 20 minutes. In hour two, we'll spend some time. Coach Solich retired yesterday. We spent a little bit of time on that. A guy who knows Trev Alberts well, who knows Coach Solich well, and is a proud papa of a Heisman winner and NFL quarterback in Cincinnati, Jimmy Burrow, going to be with us. So we'll catch up with Jimmy, get his take on things, not only Trev, but Coach Solich, and also hear how Joe's doing on that rehab with his knee, as Cincinnati's camp season just around the corner here at the NFL. Of course, Zach Taylor, the head coach in Cincy, former Husker. Steve Warren, the Warren Academy, with us. We'll talk to him about some of the top prospects in the state and in the metro regions between Omaha and Lincoln and Southwest Iowa. Steve's going to be having a top 50 showcase, which we will be at for a live Hail Varsity on the 28th. And so Steve Warren with us. Danny Burke is back from vacation. Burke's Best Bets. Get his take on some NBA and some Major League Baseball as the second half gets underway. So you can join us, 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. Elijah, what's new with you? How are you? Have you bought that side of beef yet?
I knew you were going there. I really did.
I'm just asking because somebody's up 3-1 in the steak and the beer wagers.
I'm not gonna lie, I've been better because I really thought the Suns had that one in the bag. Because we're coming down to the wire, a minute left, and I was like, okay, the Suns don't even have to win. All they have to do is not lose by 5. Lose by 4, we're good. Lose by 5, we got some issues. And they end up losing by 8? That was just ridiculous. Giannis comes out with the block of the finals, the block of the playoffs so far. And that was kind of the momentum turner, and it was just unfair. But, there's nothing like a 3-1 comeback in a 7-game series. So I'm down 3-1 right now. I'm going for the fireworks. I need 4 straight to win this thing, baby. So let's go.
You are going to double down and say, I need prime rib, I need bone-in ribeye, I need filet. You're going with the buffet of steak choices here. That you will meet man versus food style, Elijah, if you pull this off and win out to conquer the ongoing steak and beer bet between you and me.
And if I don't make the comeback, you better believe I'm buying the good stuff too. This has been an epic NBA Finals, and also I think I need to pay up over the last 2 football seasons too. So
we're kind of keeping score, but we're not really keeping score. Let's dive in. Awesome mailbag, and you look at the coverage from Hail Varsity yesterday on Trev Alberts. Wonderful stuff from Aaron Sorensen and, of course, Greg Smith and Derek Peterson and Mike Babcock. of course, Brandon Vogel, and we were lucky enough to get that Trev Alberts interview as well. So check that out on ESPN Lincoln or the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play with Hail Varsity Radio. Trev was awesome, but now we kind of turn our attention here to, all right, you had the ceremony, you had the good old feelings for some with a former Husker now back in the AD chair. And this is a really good mailbag question, what can Trev Alberts do to quiet his critics early? And think about the different hires for Nebraska. And you've had 5 ADs since 2000. Different reactions, knee-jerk reactions, call your shot reactions, and we're all guilty of them. This Steve Peterson guy gets it. He was part of the recruiting machine at Nebraska. He's going to come in, and no, it was fake it till you make it, and that was, I've got my own agenda, I've got my own plans. I'm going to rip the heart out of Nebraska football. And if you talk to some of the coaches from back then, it's not just that, all right, we aren't employed anymore. It's more so a mindset and a practice style. Nebraska football was incredible for decades because, A, they developed talent, they recruited talent, they won with talent, they were tougher than you, they were more physical than you, they got faster than you, and above all, they practiced and practiced and practiced. And you've heard this referenced a lot. It's the 4-station practice. So you've got first through fourth or even fifth string back in the day slamming each other 4 days a week for X number of days. You do that math, and by the time Rob Zadiska, who's an amazing player, is a redshirt sophomore, he's had 4 billion reps at what he needs to do to go murder some defensive linemen. That was the blueprint for Nebraska. You get Petey in here with an NFL head coach who, recruited incredibly, that went to more of an NFL practice style. That's where you see your depth development and demise, and it's ongoing, right? So when we get to Trev Alberts and quieting critics, Elijah, you had 2 camps yesterday, and I don't know that anyone switched teams. Yay, love to hire. No, hate to hire. And I'm kind of like, I like to hire because I think Trev will bring what Nebraska needs, and that is the ability to push those who need pushed to success, and the ability to keep your hands off of people that are already killing it, right? You don't want to come in and think you know it all and alienate guys or gals that are super, super successful right now. I mean, it's a pretty easy take right now. Assess what programs are doing, offer to help, and push those that need to be pushed in a different direction. And when it comes to critics, Trev isn't going to be able to silence those that are still hot at him for UNO, all right? All he can do here is try and make sure the football program's successful, try and be there for Scott Frost, and it's not going to be an immediate, quieting. It just won't be. So it's going to come down to wins. Some interesting thoughts here when it comes to runway. We talked about Scott Frost. Why did he take the Nebraska job? Why did he leave Central Florida? And, he has had a long runway to build up to success. I still think you have a runway this season, next season, and I don't think you add to it. You don't put an addition on the runway. But I think if you show some progress, but you're not to 10 wins, that's not time to panic and start pulling the hand grenade pin again with blowing up football. So Trev's going to sit, assess, listen, and then react. Let's go to the phones real quick before you jump in, Elijah. Chris, welcome into Hail Varsity. How are you?
Hey, Schmitty. So you can throw me in the camp, the pro Trev camp. I think it's a good hire. And the thought process behind that is that, I think our athletic department is in a really good spot, starting with the brass at the top. Harvey Perlman's not steering the university anymore, and I think that's why this, they did all the right things when you go through the list of all the people within the athletic department that were on that committee, I think they were asking the right questions and looking for the right things. And while this may not be the splash hire that some people were wanting, I think I don't really love the term, but I think he checked all the right boxes. So jury's still out, right? But I see this as a positive thing. It's not a negative thing that we brought in one of our guys that bled and sweated on one of our fields. He's going to put the university first. He doesn't have any outside agendas. Like maybe we've had a couple of guys in the past running the department that were, me first guys. That's pretty in line with where you're at, wouldn't you say?
Right. I think you've got a guy, Chris, that just wants Nebraska to kill it again. That's his end game goal. He wants Nebraska to be Nebraska football again. He wants Nebraska basketball to be competitive and go on a run for some March dancing. You are incredibly set up for volleyball. You're great for baseball. You've had good seasons and success with women's basketball. I mean, keep going on down the list, and Mark Manning's awesome in wrestling. So I think he's just going to assess, and I think bottom line is he's going to challenge those that need to be challenged when it comes to results. I don't think he's in there to try and kind of put his rubber stamp on anything. I think he's there to just make sure the results are what Nebraska fans, and he has his own expectation, like you touched on. He got it. He got the point of coming into a 10-2, 9-3 program that couldn't win the big one to on the doorstep of a national championship. He knows that work ethic and process that's needed.
So if you look at our head coaches and now our athletic director, is it fair to say that we have a large group of people that this is their dream job? Scott Frost, he's at his dream job. Trev Alberts, he just took his dream job. Will Bolt, is he one of those? Is this his dream job? Kind of we
better
don't have
put
to
enough
worry
zeros
about
behind his check to make sure it's still his dream job.
Fair, yep. Yeah. But as you get filtered down in some of these other sports, I don't know if that's the case. But if John Cook ever decides to leave, that Tyler his assistant, co-head coach, right? He's right there to step in and shouldn't miss a beat kind of deal. So I love where we're at as an athletic department. I think this is it's a solid move. So
you're going to have some hands-on leadership when it calls for, and I think that's going to be the big difference. Chris, thanks for listening, brother. Thanks for the call. Elijah, you jump in here, man, and the task at hand right now is to get football successful, get football competitive. I think football's had urgency this spring and beyond, and I think the expectations are to play like you've been coached, and if you're going to go down with a fight, not at your own hands. I know we referenced that a lot, Elijah, but I don't think Trev Alberts will stand for sloppy football.
Yeah, and while I don't think this is a home run, knock it out of the park hire, I don't think that's what you needed right now necessarily. Bill Moose came in and made some home run hires in baseball, football, and basketball, and maybe we just got a little accustomed to that as Husker fans, but I don't think Trev Alberts is a bad hire by any means. When you look at what Nebraska needs right now after the past 3 years of Bill Moose, what Nebraska needs now is a leader, and we heard Trev Alberts say that in his press conference yesterday, saying, essentially, I'm going to treat this like I was treated when I was a Husker football player, and that's that I had Coach Osborne, who was a leader, who was elevating my talent and bringing something out of me I didn't even know I had. And I think that's what the Nebraska Athletic Department needs now, is somebody who's just going to be there on a day-to-day basis, steering the ship and trying to elevate the people below him to do their jobs to the best of their ability. Because, as an AD, you can delegate your jobs. We saw that from Bill Moose with all his delegation he was doing apparently out in Washington or on his ranch instead of being around the office day. He was able to delegate a lot of his tasks, and that's what you can do as AD. But the key is to be a good leader who can elevate the people below you to do the jobs to the best of their ability. And I think that's something Trev Alberts can do. We've heard Charlie McBride say how much of a people person he is, how well he can communicate with people.
Well, and the topic of trust is, listen, it's a wonderful talking point. It gets people nodding their head. But we get to the point of actions versus words, right? And I love Moose, man. This isn't like pinata time on the Moose because we both really like the guy. But Moose was a talker, was a good schmoozer, and he loved being with the fans, right? Trev, he's kind of been quiet and behind the scenes at Omaha, but his results were here's $100 million for 2 facilities. And I know that's UNO, but that's pretty awesome. That's pretty darn impressive. So for him to get all that done, I think there is your action, right? Those are loud words when you roll up to Baxter Arena or there's a new baseball facility for UNO baseball. And the fact that you've been on the doorstep a couple of times with basketball at UNO speaks to some progress. And then there's hockey, right? And you've been to a Frozen Four or so. So Trev Alberts is there. And when it comes to football expectations, and we'll know this next week. We'll get into this with Brandon Vogel. But, what are Trev's football expectations? Kind of asked that by me yesterday. And obviously Sam McEwen touched on it with him too. And, are his expectations in line with what Moose was talking about? That's 6 wins in a bowl berth. 8-9 wins is what Moose was talking about. What's Trev say? Win total wise. Maybe he'll be asked that at Media Days next week. Brandon Vogel's next.
And we're back
Fellas, think we could listen to the radio
on Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes! That's awesome!
So I'm staring out here at the west side of Memorial Stadium, Haymarket Park, in the Salt Dogs broadcast booth. I don't have a Budweiser here. Otherwise, I'd say Budweiser broadcast booth. But I do have a coffee before you make any comments, Elijah. But no, Junior's team is not going to get to play tonight. Too much rain and not enough heat to dry things out. So somewhere Junior and his crew are playing catch out in the parking lot. I would call security immediately if I was running the ballpark, and I'd get tasers out. We say hi to Brandon Vogel. We welcome in managing editor with HailVarsity.com and magazine. And we can find Vogues on Twitter at Brandon L. Vogel. Vogues, busy day yesterday, kind of a whirlwind, and we kind of move forward here 24 hours as you've had a chance to assess and process this thing. What do you think? What do you think of Trev Alberts? What do you think of his task at hand here in Lincoln? How are you, by the way? Good to talk to you.
I'm doing well, thanks. Trev is one of those names that has been on, every sort of Nebraska AD list for a while now. And it kind of felt, at least early in the month, when Nebraska had this opening and we're all kicking around candidates, like for whatever reason, maybe that door had closed. So yesterday came as a mild surprise, at least for me personally. But I came away, I think I'm optimistic about the future of the department. Alberts is a no-nonsense kind of guy. He's a smart, smart administrator, as evidenced by his time at Omaha. And I think I'm overall bullish on, I think, where this is going to go. I think it's the right blend of, someone who stepped away for a while and comes in with that familiarity. I think the big thing for me is this department is going to have, I believe, in the near future, kind of a more defined culture across all of it. And I don't know when the last time that felt like that was the case for me.
Probably the Osborne oversight years, don't you think?
Yeah, and that one was weird because you had the kind of open-endedness of it, like it was interim for a bit and then full-time for a bit. And, you always kind of knew, well, somebody else is going to come in and take this. But, yeah, that's probably the best example. I mean, Steve Peterson certainly, had designs on what he wanted that department to be, and it didn't work out. So, it's still got to be a good culture and the right culture. But it's been something that I feel's lacked a little bit from Nebraska athletics over the past decade or so.
Brandon Vogel's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Vogues, I need your thoughts here when it comes to football expectations. Does that carry over? Does the old bar, the Moose set with 6 in a bowl game or 8 or 9 wins are findable? Are we going to get Trev to comment on a number at all?
I'm gonna guess no. I'm gonna assume that if you were asked, so still 8 or 9 wins, right? He'd probably punt on that one. I mean, I think Bill Moose was well versed in college football, and really, I think just all wherever he works aside, really just a fan of the sport, and that's good. Trev has that too, with the added bonus of having played at Nebraska. So, I'm really interested in kind of that interplay between AD and football program, given that both of those players are two of the best players in Nebraska football history, And when it comes to setting expectations, is it going to feel a little bit, now I know, Alberts and Frost didn't play together, but they were pretty close. Is it a little bit of like, hey, we know what this is like, right? When I was a senior linebacker, I expected this of the people that were still coming up through the program. Is it something like that? There's just a kind of unity of, I don't know, unity of purpose. Everyone has that. Everybody wants to win, and everyone understands. But I don't know. There's just a link there I think has the potential to benefit both Nebraska as an athletic department and as a football program.
Brandon Vogel's with us on Hail Varsity. Vogues, what does football need? Trev's a guy that he told me yesterday, look, I'm not a micromanager, but I get the sense Trev can absolutely lay a line down that needs to be met and communicate expectations well. So what does Frost and company need from Trev, and what do you think Trev and company needs from Frosty?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think that from afar, and like I felt this way at the time, and there was so much like wrapped up in it, and the enthusiasm around Nebraska getting its guy, the top coaching candidate, most people considered in the country that year. And so far, I would say it's been a little bit of a lesson in, okay, that's good. Like, that all happened for a reason. Everyone involved earned that, right? But there's still more. Like, you still got to go out and maintain a lot of the same things, the same focus, all the stuff that you had. And anytime you switch a job, it becomes a little bit easier to get away from some of that stuff, whether intentionally or unintentionally. With Albert's experience, playing the game and just being an athletics administrator, I think he's the right set of fresh eyes to say, like, well, hey, what about this or what about that? And, he, like you said, he's not going to micromanage it, but it's more just having a set of eyes that understands what they're looking at a deep, deep level.
Brandon Vogel's with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Brandon, just a bit of a big picture question here is when you look at where UNO was at whenever Trev took the job here there, and now when you look at where Nebraska's at when Trev's taken the job here, which do you think is the harder position? I know UNO had financial difficulties and Trev had to make some tough decisions to cut some programs, but then you look at Nebraska and the way the football program has slipped in recent years. What do you think is like more difficult of a task for Trev to complete?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. He at Omaha, we had the very difficult decision, a decision that still, really stings for some people, and I don't blame them. I understand it and I get it. At Omaha, you had the challenge of kind of rewriting or writing a new future. Are we going to stay with what we are, or are we going to make a really hard choice and try to be something else in the future? At Nebraska, you're always chasing the past a little bit. And I think, not just here, but at any place you look that has that history and is maybe in a little bit of a downturn at the moment, kind of trying to catch up to what you once were. It's more defined. The goal is constantly in sight. You know exactly what it is, but it may be a little bit more difficult.
Brandon Vogel's with us on Hail Varsity Radio. And, yeah, that is a question, a great question, Elijah. The UNO flip, not just a remodel, but complete revamping versus, football rehab with a program that, man, you're waiting on it to get competitive. What do you anticipate next week, Vogues, with media days and Alberts? I know he's not going to be he's different than Bill Moose, and there were things about the Moose I really loved, and part of that was his ability to hold court. Trev does that, but Trev does it in his own way.
Yeah, he does. And, I expect him to be around and to be pretty accessible. I expect there'll be a lot of national interest in being able to talk to him, and it'll probably be some pretty pointed questions because, as we see time and time again, like nationally for people who look in on this are like, well, this is the record after 3 years, so surely like it's win now or else. And I think locally, we all feel that there's a little bit more leeway there. So I expect Alberts to get a bunch of that. I expect Frost to get, quite a few questions about his new AD and kind of having somebody who played the same sport there because, through this is the one time of year when college coaches across sports can kind of get away for a little bit. It might be the first time we have a chance outside of the statement that was released to hear from Frost on his new boss effectively.
If Frost bumps into national media that have him rated as a 5 on a hot seat rating, does he ask him to arm wrestle?
It's quite possible. Maybe that's Trev Alberts' first big job is to make sure that doesn't happen. Be like, I'll talk to these guys. I'll handle that. It'll just be easier that way.
We're not far away. Next week we'll be towards the end of 3/4 of the way through July, and then bang, we're ready for Illinois a month from pretty much Fan Day, and I'm fired up. I can't wait to see camp, an injury-free camp, because you can guarantee that, Brandon Vogel. I know you can. An injury-free camp for Nebraska, but I want to see this football team just kind of let it rip, man. Let it rip and get out of their own way, because I think there's some talent.
Yeah, I think so too. It's a really interesting season. I mean, we know the stakes are pretty high. But it's also a season where, you could convince me of a number of potential outcomes as being the most likely, and talk to me long enough, and you might get me to agree. I agree with you. I think there is ample talent here. I mean, just starting with a conference game, starting a week ahead of the sport at large for the most part, this is a high stakes opener, and you're right. We're going to have media days a week from today, and then we're going to be into fall camp. And once you hit fall camp, those last couple of weeks just melt away because you're deep in the news cycle, and all of a sudden we're going to be in game week with a game that's not like, oh, hey, I'm interested to see this, and Nebraska's most likely going to win. No, there's going to be some questions. You're going to go on the road and beat a Big Ten team.
Vogues, are you buying Iowa State, or are you still in Oklahoma's corner, or do you have a different take here? About 30 seconds.
I'm buying Iowa State. They're super sound, super impressive. It's just kind of similar to Ohio State in the Big Ten. Oklahoma's built up such a lead on the rest of that conference. It's really hard not to pick the Sooners year in and year out. But I think Iowa State's going to be there.
Brandon Vogel. Vogues, we'll talk Saturday, but thanks for the time today.
Thank you.
All right, there he is, Brandon Vogel, managing editor. His book with John Cook, Dream Like a Champion. We're here at Haymarket on a Thursday with Hail Varsity.
Chime in 402-466-ESPN or email the show, Chris@HailVarsity.com.
Just try me.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, it's Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, here at Haymarket Park. Just a gorgeous setting and scene. Memorial Stadium in the backdrop. I think an Elijah Herbel straightaway shot away. Is that fair? Is that your muscle level for going either oppo or straightaway? Or were you much into baseball? I know you call balls and strikes, but did you play?
Hitting was my worst trait, and it's why I quit baseball young. I could pitch decent. I was a pretty good fielder. I could not hit a round ball with a round bat and know where it was going to save my soul. I was terrible at hitting. So that was my problem.
They stuck you at first, didn't they?
In youth baseball, they stuck me in right field.
No. But listen, man, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense for you. Like I get like the most awkward athlete at times. Of course, obviously not on the Lincoln A's. We've got like speed demons in the outfield. It's sweet, but the Elijah Herbel era, you're lanky, you're big, you're lumbering because you're an offensive lineman, right?
They stuck me at catcher more than first, unfortunately.
So okay, well that would make sense. That would make sense to throw you at catcher or first because you were probably 7 feet tall in when you were 12.
Yeah, that's fair. I was the tallest in my 5th grade class, if you were wondering.
No, I get it. I get it.
But I am seeing, I just got an email through that the ESPN Lincoln celebrity softball game at Haymarket's coming up here in a couple weeks, so maybe I'll get to show off that power again.
I missed that 1 year. I was out of town, missed it another year because we didn't have it because of COVID. And then 3 years ago, I had the bleeping shingles. So I sent Junior out there, and Junior played. So
we need to get him going again this year.
Yeah, we'll see. Now
we need to win over Broadcast House.
Well, the thing with Junior is he's going to try and pull this name, image, and likeness crap and want a paycheck to go play. I know he will.
I mean, does he deserve it though? That's my question. Softball's a different game than baseball.
Oh, I know. No, I mean, you give me. Think about the era, and this may have been before your time. Last time I covered softball in depth was probably about 20 years ago. I got a chance to do play-by-play when Peaches James was at Nebraska. And 1 year I got to fill in and do play-by-play for the Husker women's softball team with Coach Ravel and company. And they were awesome. They were incredible. They won the Big 12. They won the Big 12 tournament down in Oklahoma City. So I was doing radio for that. And then they just had a regional in Iowa City, right? So they go win that. And then they're in the Women's College World Series, and they played Florida State, and they played either Arizona. I think it was Arizona. And you had Jesse Sapulo, the old 49er offensive lineman. His daughter at the time was an incredible pitcher. Gary Carter, the late great catcher for the Mets and Expos, his daughter was incredible for Florida State. And then there's Jenny Finch. I mean, just one of the most beautiful women ever. That's 6 foot and a flamethrower in the circle for softball, and being able to interview her. And then Nebraska didn't go as far as they wanted, but they played great softball, and it was just an experience. But yeah, softball was fun. We're not far from softball complex here at Haymarket. So we're talking Trev Alberts, and we're talking Nebraska and direction. We've got a cut here as we talked to Trev off and on with different Nebraska games, and Trev was quiet and private about Nebraska football during the changes, during the shifts, because his job was at UNO, and his job was to support UNO. He answered that yesterday, but we did catch up with him during the pandemic, and we had a lot of fun with these YouTube Tuesdays. We may bring those back. And YouTube Tuesday, one of the games was the UCLA game, 1993. Nebraska won that 14-13, and it was a really good UCLA team. They turned out to be a really good team, and very underrated win. But Trev talked about that 93 team, and he spent plenty of time about loving Nebraska, and one of those reasons he loved Nebraska was the undying fan support.
None of us, including me, were perfect, but by and large, I thought we had a good group of young men who were brought together with one common goal, really kind of motivated and pushed along by, the state and our alumni and fans who cared so deeply about the university and the program, and sort of helped us will our way to some victories that perhaps we maybe even shouldn't have had. But that's what made playing at the University of Nebraska so much fun. football at the University of Nebraska matters. And it matters just beyond the wins and losses. It matters to the state. It matters to the local economy, and it just flat out matters. So when you want to be a part of something, you want to be a part of something that everybody's all in on, unified, and working together. And I think, by and large, that's the kind of team we had.
Trev Alberts, right on, man. Football matters economically, for sure. From a morale standpoint, what's your mood like? Hey, mood's always a little better when you got a 10-win football team, or you're hurt because they lost, but man, what a great effort they gave. It'd be good to see Nebraska football get back to that, and we'll see if 2021's that opportunity. Elijah, let's talk about one of those mile marker games, Oklahoma, Nebraska. Bob Bowlesby's the Big 12 commissioner. I'd love to get Ed Stewart's take on this as the deputy commissioner, but he wasn't asked. But the early kickoff time was a topic of conversation as you had Joe Castiglione, the AD for OU, lose it when it was Soonergate time earlier this spring with the thought that Nebraska was trying to reschedule or back out of the OU game. Well, long and short story, the 11 o'clock kickoff was panned by those down in Soonerland, and Bob Bowlesby was asked about it, and his take was this, in totally proper commissioner terms. He admitted that he preferred a later kickoff time. Can't you just see a guy in a sport coat and a tie saying, well, I prefer a later kickoff time, but you know what? We've got to honor our media rights contract. From OU's position, it's a marquee game. It's Nebraska, it's Oklahoma. We'd like to see it in prime time. That's what Coach Switzer's echoed. That's what Joe Castiglione's echoed. I'm sure Lincoln Riley's echoed that. There's been a lot of night games, and it does suck that Nebraska and OU aren't later. Now, if you're Nebraska or a Nebraska fan, the last time you played OU at night didn't go so well, and Sam Bradford's slinging touchdowns, and it's 62-28, pick six, first play of the game. Night games, I think they ramp up the difficulty level like tenfold. That's kind of my take. I'll take 11 o'clock, Elijah.
And on top of that, I mean, whenever this got announced, I was looking, and like the stats will tell you that you actually get more viewership for those 11 a.m. games anyway. That's what the TV markets want to do. And I get why the commissioners and me personally as a fan would prefer a night game, but the eyes will be there, and the stations make more money whenever they have that game at 11 a.m. So can I really fault them? I don't think so, just because some of the most viewed games of all of college football last year were at 11 a.m.
No, Fox is going with their big noon. We know that. It was talked about and asked at Big 12 Media Days down in Jerry World, and you had the Big 12 commissioner make some comments about it. It should be prime time, but TV, they pay us, so we'll be quiet. We'll wind down hour one here at Haymarket. Jimmy Burrow, longtime assistant to Coach Solich, on the way.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time this hour, we're at Haymarket Park. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Hail Varsity Radio Roadshow Thursday. We were scheduled for a doubleheader with the Lincoln A's juniors baseball team and a couple of teams coming in. Mother Nature not cooperating with an inch plus of rainfall. So we will reschedule here at the wonderful ballpark of Haymarket in the near future. But I can't thank juniors coaches enough for putting this together. As one of the last few games they'll have. We got to go back to Iowa, Elijah, here after media days for a tournament, but it's been a good run for baseball with junior in this group. The Lincoln A's love the franchise and organization. So we'll hear from Jimmy Burrow coming up at 5 o'clock. Jimmy, long time assistant, head coach, defensive coordinator at Ohio. Of course, his son Jamie, part of that team that found their way to the national title game in 2001 against the Canes. Jamie Burrow just a throwback linebacker. And, of course, Jimmy's youngest, a guy named Joe, right now for LSU, formerly of Ohio State, and doing great stuff pre-injury with Cincinnati. So Jimmy Burrow, Joe's papa, coming up here in about 10 minutes or so. Steve Warren Academy. We'll talk some Nebraska football with him and some of the local area talent that'll be on a showcase or a recruiting showcase, a top 50 showcase coming up here July 28th with Steve Warren and the Warren Academy. We'll be on site for that. And then the Pride of Chicago is Danny Burke. Burke's Best Bets on the way here at 5:40.
And,
reminder about...
I realize that if you are not going to be in tomorrow, we might have to do another stake and a beer bet for Game 5 of the NBA Finals as well if you're not going to be in. Okay,
yeah,
we could do that Saturday morning as well. But
yeah, we had a golf outing rear its wonderful head tomorrow afternoon. So that's where I'm going to be. I've got to get my practice rounds in for Tee-Off for Treasures, Tyson's Treasure Chest fundraiser, golf tournament, Searles. Is expecting me not to suck as badly Saturday morning when we're on site for Tee-Off for Treasures, the 8th annual Tee-Off for Treasures, Tyson's Treasure Chest, Searles and Company. We're at Woodland Hills on Saturday. So, yeah, I mean, I've got to get my Elijah, you get it, right? I got to get my practice round in tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, yeah, no, because if you're rusty, then you're just going to be worthless on Saturday, and you can't have that. This is for charity. Yeah.
I cannot disappoint Searles and my other teammates. And if I'm not pulling my weight, that means I'm pulling their Busch Light cooler. and old linemen can handle and hammer Busch Lights.
So it's a heavy Busch Light cooler.
Yes, it is. A reminder about buckling up. Please do it. 70% of people in fatal crashes in Nebraska are not wearing a seatbelt. If used properly, a seatbelt can reduce the risk of fatal injury by up to 60%. Your best bet, your best defense in any crash, buckling up. Brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. We'll get that steak and a beer bet figured out. We'll have to do that here. That's funny. Brett emails in, Schmidt, you can shoot your weight, no problem. That's not very nice. I'm working on my weight and my golf game. Jimmy Burrow is on the way. Standout Husker, defensive coordinator at Ohio. Some thoughts on Coach Solich, Trev Alberts, and Joe Burrow. Next hour on Hail Varsity.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Back into it. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. We going to talk some football here, some Nebraska, some Coach Solich, and, of course, some Joe Burrow. We welcome in proud dad and standout Husker and, of course, defensive coordinator with Ohio for a number of years, Coach Jimmy Burrow. Coach, thanks for the time. Let me ask you this. How's vacation? How's vacation going?
Well, it was great, and then Coach Solich retired yesterday, so I've done my share of Zoom interviews and radio interviews over the last couple of days. But that's all good. Anything that I can do to say great things about Coach Solich, I'm willing to do. But and you can still in Florida, you can still do those things either by the beach or by the pool. So I'm good.
Yeah, beach, pool, golf course. It's warm. I mean, it's nice. Jimmy Burrow's with us. You have such a great relationship with Coach Solich, his defensive coordinator for a number of years, and what's Frank meant to Ohio in your eyes? Can you put into words his time at Ohio U?
Well, he changed the culture of Ohio University football, and in doing so, was able to promote Ohio University to another level. Also, with all the publicity that he brought to Ohio and the success of our team, all of that is really helped Ohio University and, of course, the football program. But when we first got there, I'm not sure our understanding that the kids didn't really believe they could win, and that's what Coach Solich is so great at. It didn't take long for them to buy into what Coach was bringing to the table, and we went into our first home game believing we could beat Pittsburgh on national television, and we did. So the culture that he's changed and set in place for the future of Ohio football and Coach Alban is it's unmatched anywhere for that matter. And we're going to miss him there in Athens and with the football program. But as I said, he's leaving it in good hands, and he's leaving it in a good place.
Coach Jimmy Burrow's with us, Hail Varsity Radio, remembering Coach Solich as what he did at Ohio. And a lot of Nebraska fans still think fondly of Coach Solich as a player and as a coach. Coach Burrow, with Frank, not to get too into the weeds here, none of my business, but from a health standpoint, I know Frank's 77, but he can do more push-ups than most 30-year-olds. He's in incredible shape. But from a health standpoint, is this the right time, in your opinion, for Coach to be stepping down, for Coach Solich to step away?
Well, since he's doing it and he's made that decision, then I'm going to say he believes it's the right time. Mm-hmm. And as you know, and most everybody that has a relationship to him, he doesn't share a lot of things personally, even with privately with his closest friends and people that he really trusts. But I know that there's a reason that he's chosen to do it, and again, if he says it's the right time, then that's good enough for me.
Jimmy Burrow's with us. Jimmy, what did you think when you made the jump from North Dakota State to Ohio? And North Dakota State, incredible program. You also a lot of years at Washington State and Iowa State. Also your career, of course, in Lincoln. But what was that experience like for you with Ohio?
Well, Coach Alban had joined us at North Dakota State, so. Coach Solich, he'd actually come to a game and watched us play. I think Cal Poly and in his year off, and we certainly had a good football team and offensively and defensively, and so when he took the job at Ohio, he offered Tim the offensive coordinator job and me the defensive coordinator job, and we knew that from visiting with him that he was really that year off had re-energized him and really got that competitive spirit going again, and he was very optimistic, and I've been around him a lot in recruiting, and he does a great job selling his program, and without us knowing really anything about Ohio University, he didn't have to sell us on Ohio University. He just had to sell us that it was the right place for him, and knowing that he bought in, made a big difference to Tim and I, and we joined him. But even when we got there, we weren't really prepared for where the program was. But we still thought with Coach Solich's leadership that we could turn that thing around fairly quickly. And to me, to join Coach Solich, I mean, he'd been so big part of our family, coaching Jamie, coaching Dan, and then getting me really back into Division I coaching football at Nebraska after my tenure at Iowa State. So we hit a ride with who we thought was not only a great football coach but a great person, and it really played out very positively for me and Tim and both of our families.
Jimmy Burrow's with us here on Hail Varsity Radio, longtime assistant, defensive coordinator, associate head coach for Ohio under Coach Solich. Coach stepping down yesterday. And last thought on Coach Solich, Coach Burrow, I mean, Solich was such an incredible recruiter, obviously a phenomenal position coach, really good head coach as well. But Frank was so good at recruiting, not only eyeing talent, but he just seemed to be one of many high-level recruiters Coach Osborne had. And what stuck out to you about Frank's ability to recruit? And I just think of all the Jersey guys he connected with.
Well, I think when he stepped into a home, he became just his personality and his professionalism. Right away, the families felt comfortable. The recruit felt comfortable, and he's not a big self-promoter, but just listening to him sell, whether it was Nebraska football or Ohio University football, I think he trusted him, and that's a big part of recruiting. And I've been through it as a coach and as a parent, and that's a big part of a decision made by a young man is can you trust the head coach, and can you trust what he's telling us and selling, and he was tremendous at that. I never saw him use notes. I never saw him as we were going to the house in a car review any notes. It was just Coach Solich being Coach Solich, and always was well prepared in his mind. What he had to get done in the home, and it was. I learned so much every time I was in a visit with him, and even the up until now, he's still. They got a great recruiting class that just came in, and he was still on top of his game.
That's impressive. Jimmy Burrow's with us, Hail Varsity Radio, longtime assistant at Ohio, Husker standout. So, Coach, thoughts on Trev? That was Coach Solich retires. Trev is having a presser at 11. I got to do a one-on-one with Trev yesterday. It was great to get caught back up with him. And as a Husker, what do you think of Trev making his way back to Lincoln?
Right. Well, first of all, full disclosure, Bill Moose and I were very close friends. We worked together at Washington State University. He was our Cougar Club director when I worked for Jim Walden there for 7 years. So, I was excited when Bill took the job, and I was disappointed when he did leave. But knowing Trev, he had spent a week with us at Ohio University once, sitting in on our defensive meetings many years ago, and got to know him. And I think it's great that somebody who played football at Nebraska, former player, is now running the program, and I'm excited about the direction that I know he'll take all sports, and certainly a former player has a lot of insight in what made that program successful under Coach Osborne and under Coach Solich, and Coach Scott Frost is going to get it going, and I'm sure Trev has some ideas about all that, and he's proven that he can manage an entire sports athletic department, and done it well. So I think it's great, and we certainly wish him good luck. We have 3 former players in our family with me, Jamie, and Dan, and my wife now is from Nebraska, and so we're excited about it. I think it's a good hire.
With Bill Moose, and we always, every chance I had time to talk with Bill Moose, I always enjoyed it. And you think Bill's just going to enjoy retirement on the ranch? What do you see from Bill here in the future?
I think that's probably it. I haven't spoken with him other than a text or two since he left Nebraska, but I know he's already been close to retiring several years ago, I think, before he took the Nebraska job. So he's looking forward, I'm sure, to the ranch in Washington, and he's put in a lot of great years at a lot of great universities and been very successful. I think in his mind, he's leaving Nebraska in a better place than it was, and he's I'm sure he's content with what he accomplished there.
Jimmy, are you? I know you're locked in on Joe and his season. We'll get there in 1 second, but are you going to get to any Nebraska games? You just going to watch from afar? How do you treat the Nebraska element of football during the fall?
For the last game, we were guests with Bill and his athletic director suite for the Ohio State game.
Okay.
So we got a chance to be there a few years ago. Joe wasn't at Ohio State anymore, so I was fully invested in rooting for the Huskers against the Buckeyes. So it didn't turn out very well, but we'll try to get back. Jamie, my son, lives in Omaha, and most of my wife's relatives are throughout the state there. So I'd like to get back. I got that particular day. I got to visit with Coach Osborne, and that was great. So and I still stay in touch with some of the players. So maybe one of these reunions. I think there's one coming up here this fall. Maybe I'll try to get back. I still would like to come to some games, but I like to go to the Bobcat games. Still will. I want to go to LSU and see all the Bengal games. So if there's fans this year, I'm going to be busy.
You are. You get an RV and an airfare, and you're a happy guy going to football games every weekend. Coach Jimmy Burrow's with us. Last thought, how's Joe doing? I just loved watching him play ball and felt so sick with the injury. But man, oh man, what tenacity he's gone after the rehab with, and just seeing some stuff on social media, he looks pretty strong. And I know he's been throwing. How are things with Joe?
He's progressing well. He's able to work out down here with us on vacation with his strength coach. He's not 100%, but he's moving in that direction. His goal is to start the first game, and we think he's on track to do that. I mean, there's over 2 months until first game against the Vikings, so. He participated in mini camp and the OTAs, and was able to do most everything. Certainly, there were certain drills he was limited in, and he plans on the 27th, I believe, of July to again pick up where he left off in the last mini camp. And they're excited, and we're excited again. We only got to go to 4 games last year, so we're planning on, I think there's 17 this year, plus the playoffs, right? So we're going to a lot. One last thing about Coach Solich, he was the first to offer Joe as a quarterback. He takes a lot of pride in saying he was the first, and I haven't mentioned this a lot over the years, but if Ohio State would not have probably offered, Joe had many Power 5 offers, but he loved the Bobcats. I think if it hadn't been for Ohio State, he'd have probably played for Coach and became a Bobcat back then. But
wow,
it turned out good for him at LSU, and the Bengals. Another Nebraskan, Zach Taylor. He loves Coach Taylor, and I've had some conversations with him. I knew him when he was at the University of Cincinnati, so. I've known him for several years, but he should be good to go for that first game.
Well, we're looking forward to it. We're really cheering for Joe, obviously, and of course Zach, and big Bengal fans with Joe. Jimmy, you take care. Enjoy your vacation, Coach. Thanks for a few minutes today.
All right, go Bengals, go Bobcats, and go Huskers.
And we're back.
Fellas, think we could listen to the radio
on Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes! That's awesome!
Back into it. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Steve Warren with us, great Husker in the Warren Academy. Going, Steve-O, looks like there's some training going on. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm amongst athletes working out this morning, and coaches getting them right, so I'm doing good.
Well, that's awesome. And Steve, it's been busy for you, obviously, with the Warren Academy, the training, the performance, all the help you're doing, the, of course, Dream Foundation. And, Steve, I want to talk a little bit here about what's coming up here the 28th. We're excited to be on site for it with Hail Varsity Radio, but the showcase, the Future 50 Media Day. Tell folks a little bit about it. What's going to be happening? There's a lot of really talented prospects in the area.
Yeah, we're really excited about this. Our Future 50 Media Day. Soldier Sports and Macavicka Physical Therapy are our presenting sponsors. It's essentially what it is. That's what it sounds like. It's a media day. We're having people like yourself out. Well, you guys are going to be there doing your radio show, and other writers and recruiting agencies out. Interviewing these kids and kind of a fall preview is the way we're looking at it. And these are the top 50 kids in Nebraska and Southwest Iowa. So this is the group of kids that we're, putting on notice for the college recruiters and the fans, letting them know these are the top kids in the state. These are kids that you should be looking at. This is the future. This is the next generation coming out.
Steve Warren's with us, Hail Varsity Radio, Dream Foundation, Warren Academy, former Packer, national champion, all Big 12 performer, Nebraska Hall of Famer, at Steve_Warren96 on Twitter is where you follow him. Steve, what has impressed you about some of these athletes, some of these kids? We think of Thomas Fedoni, we think of Henrich, we think of some of the kids that are in Lincoln now. You have a bunch of other kids you've worked with that are at some other power programs around the country. With these 50 we're talking about here, what kind of tag can you put on this 2021-2022 group?
It's another talented group. Again, another year where you've got great tight ends coming out, right? You got Micah Riley and Caden Helms and the Braden Thomasons. It's a good group of tight ends, a talented bunch of linemen. Deshaun Woods, of course, being the top prospect in the state. Devin Jackson, outside linebacker. It's another talented group of football players. I'm excited to meet a lot of these kids. I've worked with a good number of them and know a good number of them, but there's a good group across the state that we don't get to see all the time. So it's going to be interesting to get to meet them and talk to them and see where their head is at. And see what they're looking at for the future and what colleges are talking to them and where they're thinking about going for college themselves. So it's a good group. These is this big, strong, fast, talented.
Steve, I remember talking last year with you and your advice so keen for many of these kids, and they'll lean on parents, they'll lean on coaches, and they'll lean on you as far as what's your take on things. And it's there's the fairy tale and then there's the reality, isn't there, when it comes to the recruiting process versus day one on campus? Kids got to be prepared for all of it, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They have to be prepared for so much more than we had to be prepared for when I was coming into college. Social media and now the NIL with their licensing agreements where they can use their likeness and get their branding to where they want it, to where they can make some money off of it. So they've got a lot on their plate, but most of these kids are ready for it. They're a mature group, most of the guys that I know, and they've been kind of preparing for this stuff. But you never know what it's like until you get there. And college football is all fun and dandy in the recruiting process, and then you get to campus the first day and everything changes. It's not all love and hugs and giggles. It's all work, sacrifice, and, making sure that you're holding each other accountable and doing the right thing so you can get on the field and play.
Who was your roommate? Like, what was that first moment of college kind of wow moment? Was it the dorm? Was it your roommate, or was it that first practice?
It was the first practice. For me, it was the first practice for sure, because coming out of high school, you're used to being the biggest, strongest, fastest kid on the field every night, every practice. And then you get to practice and you're surrounded by dudes that are bigger, stronger, faster than you and more talented. So it was that practice for me. I had to get out there and figure out the speed of the game right away.
Well, how was it? Did you love it, or were you like, oh, no?
I loved it because it was I'm competitive. So I like the challenge. I like going against the better guys. It was never really fun for me going against, weaker competition. because it just wasn't much of a challenge. But when I got to Nebraska, it was a challenge right away. So I've thrived in just being a part of that competitive nature. I had to learn how to work harder. I had to learn what that meant, showing up every day, every practice. So that was the hardest part for me is learning how to, be a high-level college athlete day in, day out in the classroom, on the field, in the weight room.
Steve Warren's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Steve, got to switch gears, and don't forget the 28th of July, the Future 50 Media Day, top 50 prospects in Nebraska and Southwest Iowa. Steve, a thought here on Trev Alberts coming home. His introduction was yesterday. Yeah,
so Trev, I think that's an exciting hire. It's always good to get somebody back in the fold that's been a part of the program before. So they know what to expect from the state of Nebraska and the expectations. It's of course, everybody knows the controversy he went through at UNO with getting rid of the wrestling program and the football program. But I think what that says to me is he's able to make the hard decisions to do what's right, what he feels like is right for the program. And that's tough sometimes for leaders to make those tough decisions that is not going to be popular, but that it's probably best for the long run. So it'll be interesting to see. He's got his work cut out for him, but I know he's got the experience, and I'm praying for him. I'm hoping that he gets it turned around because we all want to see Nebraska back at the top in all sports.
I look at the coaches he's got to work with and work for, and they got to have a great relationship. That's the dream, right? You have a wonderful relationship between coworkers, and there's respect between boss and someone that's working for someone. The thing I get out of Trev is I think he's going to be a probably pretty good communicator, Steve, and I think there's also going to be a standard and a high level of accountability. And some folks need it, some don't, but the fact that it'll be there is pretty important, pretty impressive, and I think that's something that can help Nebraska forward.
Yeah, I think being able to communicate is key, right? In all aspects of life, at home, in the workplace, but especially in a corporate setting or a high-level setting like college athletics. You got to be able to communicate with the people that you're trying to help better a program or better a organization, and he seems like he's got that down under control. So I think it's a good hire. I think it's a safe hire. So like I said, I'm just hoping for the best.
We'll get you out of here on this. Steve Warren's with us. Dream Foundation, of course, the Warren Academy, and can find Steve on Twitter at Steve Warren, at Steve_Warren96, at Dream_org, and of course at Warren_Academy on Twitter. Coach Solich, and you came in the second to last year with Coach Osborne there. Coach Solich takes over. Your senior year, an incredible run. You finished number 2 in the country, and Solich was wearing the headset. What a career for Coach Solich. What do you remember about him?
I just remember him being a very strong, very, very strong leader. He walked into the room. He's not a huge guy, right? But when he walked into the room, he still had the presence that people respected him when he walked in. He was a great coach to the players, somebody you could talk to, somebody that was easy to talk to, which was key. And you knew that he cared about you and that he loved you and that he wanted the best for you. But at the same time, he was going to make sure that you were doing right and that everybody around us in the program was doing the right thing so we could be successful on the field.
He was pretty demanding, I would imagine, but in a good way, and a guy you wanted to please type way. And what did you notice about that first year where he's taken over for T.O.?
It was the first year when he was taking over, I think that he was trying to figure out, how to keep things the same as far as what we were doing practice-wise and training-wise, but still trying to figure out, who he was as a head coach and trying to put his stamp on it. And I think he did a good job of it. Of course, our first year wasn't the best year. I think we finished at 9-4. which is, these days would be most people would love that.
Steve,
but
you just said 9-4.
It wasn't the greatest, but the next year, my senior year, we came out and finished in the top 5, and we were hoping to play for a national championship. That didn't happen, but we were right there in the hunt, and we know you won the Big 12, and he was just a great coach. He was somebody that you wanted to play for.
Steve Warren's with us, the Warren Academy, and of course the showcase, the Future 50, happening July 28th. And Steve, real quick, the sponsors again, and the over/under on a fullback sighting named Makovica.
I think we're going to see him. I think we'll see him that day. He's actually been by the academy in the last couple of weeks to check on us and to see how we're doing. He and I go way back. We were teammates at Nebraska, and somebody that I've talked to through this process of doing the academy and looked at doing different stuff with. So I think we're going to see Joel there. I think it's a good possibility.
Joel Makovica sighting. I give Joel so much trouble. Are you working or are you golfing? And it'll be nice to see him at the academy. Steve, it'll be great to see you. Thanks so much for giving us a few minutes, including us with the Warren Academy in this upcoming showcase. Best to you and all you do with the kids. Thanks, Steve.
Chris, I appreciate you having us. Looking forward to seeing you in a few weeks.
Steve Warren, Warren Academy, and man, that's going to be fantastic. That showcase, top 50 athletes, a lot of local talent in Omaha and Lincoln in southwest Iowa, and of course around the state. Frankly, it's a wonderful high level of talent. You see some of that talent going outside the border. You have some of that talent just in my view right now. As I look at Memorial Stadium, we're here at Haymarket Park. Roadshow Thursday. It's Hail Varsity Radio. Danny Burke, Pride of Chicago, the VSiN Sports Network. We'll get Danny's take on the NBA Finals, Suns, Bucks, betting trends. What's he liking for Major League Baseball in the second half? And some numbers here from Danny Burke on the way with Hail Varsity.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. I have missed the Pride of Chicago. I have missed Danny Burke, Burke's Best Bets. He is back from vacation. He is back from birthday. And he's back to pick 'em right. Rush Hour is Danny's show. You check that out on the VSiN Sports Network, and you can find Danny at Danny Burke 5 on Twitter and iHeart Media. Pride of Chicago, happy belated.
Appreciate it, Schmitty. No, thank you for the kind words. It was a great birthday. Spent it with a bunch of friends. We had a trip out to Florida at a friend's place in Bonita Springs, spent some time in Naples as well. So we made the most of it and avoided the almost Hurricane Elsa and, turned into the tropical storm made its way up east. So we only had one day of bad weather and enjoyed the rest. So it was a lot of fun. Golf, pool, dolphins, jet skiing, the Wolf of Wall Street boat. I mean, it's pretty awesome to be Danny Burke. Hey, we have our good days from time to time, but if those bets don't catch, that could change everything. So that's what it all depends on. Well, let's dive into the NBA. What do you make of this so far? Now, bragging, I had, or it was short-lived, but I had a 2-1 stake in a beer advantage over Elijah with some picks. But how about Milwaukee's resilience last night, or is that something we should talk about? So honestly, even before Game 4, Schmitty, I kind of had the sentiment that this series seemed like just really a series that the home team was going to win every game. It had that feel. Now we've seen the 2-game sample size for each, and look, the Suns had their opportunities, but you can't win a game like that when Chris Paul is just playing brutally, to put it just honestly just blunt out there. I mean, he was terrible. His turnovers, he has 15 this finals, and I saw whatever crazy stat it was, and he only had however amount until the finals, which was obviously a lot lower. But, man, I mean, what's going on with Chris Paul here these past couple of games in terms of the turnovers? And honestly, even with just his points production, he wasn't taking many shots. And I get it, he's a facilitator, but, this is also the salty guy in me who begged Chris Paul to win MVP several times, hoping he steps up.
But the thing is, you really do need him to step up in that type of situation. You need your veteran guy, when you have a lead on the road in a crucial game to where you can clinch it the next game, to step up and start making plays. But honestly, he just looks so flustered out there and is turning the ball over, can't dribble, missing shots, whatever it may be. He was having a bad game. So we know how great Booker was, great bounce-back performance. It's tough with Ayton out there because he gets in foul trouble and then didn't really play the whole third quarter, but still they didn't need him because the Suns were doing fine in the third quarter for the most part. But look, the Bucks, once it started getting close toward the end of the fourth and you got guys like Pat Connaughton making shots and Middleton finally starts getting his groove, it was the Bucks' game to lose at that point. So, look, Milwaukee had the advantage. I'm not surprised they won. That was kind of the strategy we were talking about on the show, that, Phoenix got out to an early lead. Instead of laying the 5 at the closing line with Milwaukee, looked to live betting them, and that's exactly the scenario that we watched unfold. Now, for Game 5, Schmidt, it looks like we're seeing a lot of these spreads at about 4 or so. Money line, you can get as low as about maybe minus 170, minus 174. It's probably going to move up in favor of Phoenix initially, even 4.5 in some spots. I think Phoenix bounces back. Now, I wouldn't be afraid to lay about, if you can get like minus 170, that's probably the highest I would go, somewhere around there, to betting Phoenix, so you don't have to sweat out the spread as much. But I do think the Suns get a nice boost from the home crowd. I think they get some camaraderie. I think you see a bounce-back performance from Chris Paul and get back to, just Phoenix Suns basketball, because the Bucks have struggled on the road a little bit, and Giannis does too. So I think the Suns get a bounce-back game. And honestly, look, the series probably goes to 7, and I think Phoenix wins it at 7.
I think they could. Booker's too much. Paul was not great last night. I think Giannis has been incredible. That's Captain Obvious. But for him to, all right, what's his health going to be like? And then you move forward, and you just got to go, wow, with how much of a force he's been. But good insight and perspective. Danny Burke's with us, the pride of Chicago. Burke's Best Bet, some thoughts on the NBA. Hail Varsity Radio. Danny's show is Rush Hour. And be sure to check that out with the VSiN Sports Network, over 100 affiliates across the country. And, of course, the iHeart Media app is where you can hear Danny 6 to 7 weeknights. Danny, as you look forward to the second half of Major League Baseball, any trends or tricks, I guess, not necessarily tricks, but just some insight here. What's the takeaway? And is there a team you're going to keep riding? Is there a team you're running from? Or what do you project here for this second half when it comes to betting some baseball?
So we actually had a segment on this yesterday on the show, Smitty, and we were just kind of doing a halfway stop. It's just a soft reset of the MLB season and what to look forward to. And we were going over all these divisions, and honestly, the only division bet that I would maybe entertain would be in the AL East and bet the Rays plus 130. They've got a plus 85 run differential and the best pitching in the division. They went on a 6-1 surge heading into the break, just allowing about 2.3 runs per game. Now, the Red Sox are about a game and a half ahead, but I don't want to lay a price like minus 129 with Boston. So for the fact that you could still get the Rays at plus 130, only a game and a half back with a whole second half of the season to look forward to with who I believe is a better team, I think that would be the best squad to look forward to betting in terms of divisions, because a lot of these are completely skewed right now. So I'm going to kind of wait to see if any teams can keep it close and then attack again. But right now I like the Rays to win the AL East. And then we were just looking because Steve McAnany, who does great work with us at VSiN, he kind of wrote this article where he went over unusual situational trends and records to look out for. For example, the Cubs, this is a team that's thriving at the friendly confines. They're plus 9.5 units, 28-17 at home, as opposed to 16-29 on the road, where they're losing in minus 10.35 units. It seemed like Boston has been great against right-handed pitching, plus 17 units. Versus lefties are only plus 1.3 units. And another one, you don't think to bet this team, but how about the Texas Rangers? Against left-handed pitching, Schmidt, they're 17-13, plus 11 units. Versus righties, they're 18-42, minus 19 units. And another one that stuck out tremendously, Colorado should never be bet away from Coors Field. At home, they're 31-17, almost plus 20 units for you. On the road, they're 9-34, minus 22 units. So if you want to check more of that out, go to VSiN.com/subscribe, because you can get the article in the daily email. But it's just trends like that that really stuck out the most, and that's kind of what I'm honing in on looking into the second half of the season.
You know what? Those are some numbers to pay attention to. You're always going to wave that white W flag as a proud Cubs fan. But brother, are you finding it frustrating this season to keep cheering for him, or do you never doubt there's always next season or next game?
It's funny. I guess maybe since 2018 when they lost that just one game series against the Rockies, I think it was. After that, I'm like, you know what? All right, I'm not continuously getting my hopes up for this Cubs team, because it was evident and it's clear that as fun as they are during the regular season, they're frustrating during the regular season, but as fun as they can be, they're just going to let you down because they've never lived up to the hype of having that consistency from the core from 2016. So even this year, they started off slow, they got in a hot streak, and they almost had me, Schmidt. They almost did. I was holding out for so long saying I'm not falling into the trap. Everyone else had already done it. Or a lot of people, I guess, your generic fans, but the sports bettor in me, where you got to take your bias and emotion out of it, was like, just wait, something's going to happen. And the bullpen was great to watch. The starting pitching stunk. The hitting is what we typically see, and that's just up and down and up and down. So, look, their season's not going to go anywhere. I just hope they can get a viable reset and do it in the right way. That's all you can hope for at this point if you truly want long-term success for the Cubs.
Danny Burke's with us. Pride of Chicago. We'll check in next time. Thanks for the time today.
You bet, Schmitty. Take care, my friend.
Miss us?
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast at HailVarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time here at Haymarket Park, Roadshow Thursday. Cloudy off to the east. But I see several spots on the berms where a hot tub or a swim spa would look incredible here, maybe nestled between some of the pine trees. We say hi to Deb the Spa Lady, Home Innovation Spas, 20th and Highway 2 off Industrial Road in Omaha, 20th and Highway 2 in Lincoln, spasonline.com. Deb, you've probably got a good idea where a spa or several could fit out in the outfield here. How are you?
Yes, we do. We've thought about that. That would be a good idea, and then maybe a home run plop, down in the hot tub. I don't know. It's just a thought, but yeah, there's a lot of spas out there right now, and just as we speak, people are sitting in their spas. They've gotten home from work. They're relaxing, unwinding, and they're listening to us, thinking, wish I had a hot tub.
Got to do it, and you can kind of check that temperature, whether it's 1,000% humidity, make it a little bit more of a cold tub. And when it comes to some of those fall nights during football season or even into the wintertime, crank that heat back up and enjoy. But Deb, tell us about the swim spa. I know the Olympics are around the corner. And, swim spas can take care of that workout, but also the relaxation.
That's nice. That's so true, because a swim spa is something that you can use year-round. It's not like a pool that you have to shut it down after 3 months, then start it back up in the spring. You use this swim spa year-round, and if you're training or wanting to be on a swim team or something, that would be perfect, because you could train every day whenever you want.
Deb, what are some of the hours folks can come find you? I know 20th and Highway 2 in Lincoln, Industrial Road, Omaha, spasonline.com. The website's fantastic. If folks want to come meet the one and only Deb the Spa Lady, let's get the hours done.
Okay, 10 to 6, Monday through Friday, 10 to 4 on Saturday. Come see me.
Well, Deb, you'll take care of folks, and you got the swim spa. You've got other choices: the 8-seater, the 6-seater, the 2-seater. Man, what a selection! Deb, we're right up near football season. I can't wait for it. Thanks for the time today.
All right. Take care, Chris. Bye-bye.
All right. You too, Deb. There she is, Deb the Spa Lady. Elijah, you'd hang out. You and Homer, the Haymarket Hound, would be all good in left field in the swim spa together, wouldn't you?
Well, I was thinking of spa spots for Haymarket, and I think that the home run deck out in right field, I think add a swim spa there and charge a little more for the tickets. You can just chill in a spa all day. Okay.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
You can tweak the temp for sure. What's the number at, or do we have it? for Game 5?
I do have it. Give me 1 second. I'm scrolling. We are at Suns 4-point favorites.
Mm-hmm. So it's Schmidt 3, Elijah 1. So Schmidt plus 2 units, as Danny Burke would say, when it comes to steak and beer. So that's plus 2 beers, plus 2 steaks. What are you taking Sunday?
Riding with the Suns has been bad for me, but I'm going to do it again. Give me the Suns at home, -4 to cover a 4-point spread.
I will take Giannis and his tinkling, plus 4. We'll talk to you on Saturday, Elijah, and Willie J. rocking it tomorrow on Hail Varsity. Thanks.